Hey guys, welcome to Sopi Mix Studio Umbiamas, conectando Aruba com o mundo via vídeo podcasting. Conectar conosco, compartilhar ideias e histórias para nos inspirar e para nos abrir. Sopi Mix Studio é a plataforma de podcast na Aruba. Follow-nos no Facebook, subscribe no YouTube ou na plataforma de podcast preferida. Escute o podcast preferido que hora e onde que está. Sopi Mix Studio, powered by Credits, botou ideia? Credits educa e prepara a abo para vir um empresário exitoso de business plan, guia personal e préstamo para negócio até com 100 mil florim. Vira para mês donho com Credits. Subway, passa na Subway para o sop, salada, wrap ou flatbread e mais fresco. Com 7 localidades rond Aruba, nós está cerca de Ibo. Subway. Swing Masters, organizando events, conferences of weddings, Mr. de luz, sound, staging, DJ, trussing of flat screen, Swing Masters está claro para ser boa fiesta éxito. Swing Masters. E agora, Sopi Mix Studio, a plataforma de podcast de Aruba, está apresentar.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Or good afternoon.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Good morning if you just woke up. Happy Halloween. Oh, introductions, yes. My name is Jean-Luc. I am a student at the University of Aruba, a Halloween fanatic, hence the very appropriate mask this week. And I've had an interest in tech and games my entire life.
I'm Ruthlyn. I'm a criminologist and I'm a senior strategic analyst at the NCTVI.
And welcome. Thank you for being here again and for another great subject today. My name is Bruce, digital evangelist, multimedia engineer, and I have an interest in technology as well. And things are getting hot in 2021 and 2022. And we have the pleasure of having Ruthlyn again for another interesting show. And we're here to continue our Cyber Week, right? So you can take over. What are we going to talk about today?
We'll talk about a little bit about business email compromise and sextortion, crime against online children. Today's before the last day of October. October is the Cyber Awareness Month. So you see there have been different seminars, webinars, different tips going out on how to protect yourself and be secure online.
Right.
So we'll go tap in a little bit more in that.
Absolutely. That's why I think what we'll probably want to do with Tech Impact is keep doing it in phases. Very important to us as well. And we need to also learn to protect ourselves. So
yes, especially as for sure, because cybersecurity, we dedicate 1 month to bring awareness, but it's something you have to constantly be mindful of. So it would be great if Tech Impact keeps.
Let's keep doing it. You're always welcome. Let's plan it out, and we definitely want to help the community that way. I mean, we've all been victims of many different things. I think my camera got stolen yesterday, or I dropped it. But that doesn't mean that on the internet these kinds of things happen as well. And to be honest, after our show last week, I have moved towards Brave, the Brave browser, and it gave me a little report that they stopped 415 trackers.
Nice.
And
nice.
So things are always happening under the hood.
It's always happening under the hook. At times, hackers can be in your computer for months looking to see if they could find interesting data. You would never know, and that's why you need data administration. If you check your logs for unusual activities,
right,
you will be bored. But especially when you're like a personal person, you usually don't have data administration going on. So then you'll use an app or like something like Brave to help you do that for you, because then it can track unusual activities. But if you have a company, you definitely have to have data administration in place.
Yeah, so let's expand on the company aspect. So BEC.
BEC is business email compromise.
Right.
It's usually a way of phishing or sending ransomware, and what they would do is send you emails that look very subtle. They're very skillful, because you would think the email is coming from your director or boss, or usually somebody higher up,
Right.
asking you for payment or asking you to complete something. And if you are not mindful, if you're not careful, you can fall victim to it. So you'll end up paying something. For instance, there was a case with this enterprise female with a lot of money on her account, telling her accountant to make sure to transfer this money to pay for containers.
Oh.
The accountant never. She didn't even send it. The accountant got an email. No, the bank got an email from the accountant, and the bank never really noticed it was not the accountant.
Oh.
So after like the third payment, the woman's like, "Hey," to her accountant, "what's going on?" And he's like, "I don't know what's going on." And then they realized the bank was sending. So you have to be very careful, because it could be
vigilant.
Because once they've been in your computer, if you have your passports in there, they have everything they need. So they send her passport, send this, send that, and they had it.
Wow. And but I also heard of this story. I cannot really mention which organization or business, but they time it very perfectly. Like they understand your time frame on Aruba, and they send it right before rush. I need it before the weekend.
Exactly.
It's Friday 3:30.
They monitor you. They monitor your behavior, and
they put some pressure.
It's exactly, it's pressure. It's social engineering. They're getting you at the right moment that you would not be careful enough or mindful enough to look at it.
And I think that's a nice word. Be mindful. So we don't have to be scared.
No, don't be scared. Just be mindful. Be skeptical. Be vigilant. Like, let up alle kleine puntjes. Because at times it's usually at dot. So maybe your email is Bruce Harms, and they will have like Bruce.harms, and you will not notice it. Or if your email is Bruce.harms, they would have like Bruce.harms.
Yeah.
It's like the smallest, slightest little things.
You know, I kind of wish that, when we do courses, because I have given courses on website fundamentals, for example, and I've seen, like, my mother sends me a coupon on Facebook, like, hey, participate with this coupon and you could win. And then when I look at the URL, it was klm.winacoupon.com. And I know that's a sub. It's a subdomain, right? So it's not a KLM, but it looks like KLM. It has a KLM on the top. But what people don't understand, that a subdomain can be anybody.
Anything. And
it
then
could be
Belastingdienst. For instance, if you get it in a computer, it's easier because you can browse with your mouse on it.
Right.
All emails. If you want to double check if an email is authentic, just browse with your mouse on it, and it will show you the real email in the back of it.
Right.
For instance, you can see Bruce Harms, but if you browse on it, then it will get a website or a whole domain in the back of it, which is not the domain from where Bruce.harms has to be coming from.
Right.
So that's like little subtle tips. If you think something is unusual, you just browse a bit over it. You can do it. On your phone, it's a bit more difficult. And usually I'm like, for instance, there was this one of PriceSmart going on a few months ago.
Yeah.
Like PriceSmart never gives away gifts.
Exactly.
Like, why would you think?
And then there's many goals for these kinds of activities, because they don't necessarily want to hack you, but at least they can get you to engage,
Yeah.
and that data
Once-
has
That's it.
worth.
Once they get you engaged, and they send it to everybody, right? So
Right.
once you engage, or if a few people engage, they get your contacts. That they have automatically. So at
So-
times you'll get a spam for somebody. You're like, hey, you just sent me this. No, they didn't.
Right,
But they
right.
got your contact through the phone. So that usually they engage in your contact, engage in your behavior.
Another way, if I remember correctly, would be that. Let me take this off.
It's okay. We can deal with it.
Yeah.
It's Halloween.
So another way that businesses can get compromised would be that on the same emails, they could put in documents or files
And you can
that
click on a
have
link and you get
worms in
phished.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's do our subcategories, right? So we've got business email compromise, and there's many ways to do it.
Yeah.
Right, so we got that one way where they do social engineering and get you to open up the doors for them.
Yes.
That's one way. So it's basically a little bit of ignorance, human weakness, rush.
Human error. They tap into.
But that's
the
there.
pressure.
There's always human error that can happen. We're human. That's why that.
And it's con artists, right? So that's their.
It's
if
con
they
artists,
can't con
yeah.
you, then they're not perfect at their work. That's what they do.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing. Then you've got basic hacking, right? So that's something we have little understanding of, except for they're coming in through back doors. They got you to click in a cookie the wrong way. They're tracking you. You don't know. So the way to defend yourself from that would be with software and trackers.
Passwords. Make sure you have double password authentication, because once they can easily guess your password, they're in your computer.
Let's talk about that. Let's expand on that, because let's say us three were experienced internet users, and let's talk about that double password, because it's something I've been noticing. So we have CAPTCHA, for example.
Yes.
So to check if you're human. So
Yes, exactly.
hackers, what they try to do is just check and check and check. And if you've got a weak password, so if anybody has done, we need to add a character and a capital, what that is making it as difficult as possible
Try to
for
make it as
bots
difficult as possible.
to not try it, right? But the other solution is, what kind of software would you recommend?
Well, it depends. I don't want to market any software, but for instance, you have double authentication. It depends what networks you have.
Right,
so
right.
For instance, Microsoft SQL has it. MariaDB. It depends what software you use.
What platform?
What platform? Google
Right.
has it also. You can also do double authentication with Google. So if someone even tries to, if they have your password and they have to authenticate again, you'll get an email from Google. Is this you? Are you logging in? Microsoft 365, the same thing. They have it through the Word. You can use the Microsoft Authenticator. And then, so even if they try on the other end, you will get a notify from this is your activity, or is it you, or isn't it you. So try to use a double authenticator factor.
Yeah, so that's, I think, depending on what you're using, so Google, even, I think Facebook has it. Everybody's got double security now.
Yes.
You have to
what
activate
you
it.
also have, nowadays, you can buy like computers and stuff like that have biometrics. I mean, biometrics is the hardest thing to hack. You have laptops that you can use your thumb.
So you actually recommend that for a skeptic like myself, I kind of don't like the fact that my fingerprints are going into a database of a third party.
That's the problem.
That's kind of where
you have to see what you're comfortable with it for yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem with the biometrics, that you would have to upload your information. But it's one of the most secure way
Understood.
to protect your data. So you have to see for yourself.
Well, I do think that.
I mean, your fingerprint is out there also. If you have a passport, your fingerprint is already
No,
out there.
understood.
have-
Yeah, you're right.
So your fingerprint is one way or the other. It's already out there. So you have to see how.
No,
Yeah,
but I
it's
think the scariest type of abuse of my personal data, which could be biometrics and my behavior, is definitely a unknown person or persons. And that's tier 1, and tier 2 would be, okay, will I put faith in Apple, for example? Apple is a tech giant. I do feel that they put the consumer first, because they're not in the business of selling data, they're in the business of selling hardware. I feel. Any comments on that, Jean-Luc?
There was a famous case where I don't know what department of the United States was suing Apple, because it was probably the FBI. They were like, these terrorist organizations are using your phones, right?
Right.
We need the data in that phones. And we're like, no, we can't give that to you. And they're like, no, but you have to give us to us. This is a thing of
but this is the
national
classic
security.
security versus privacy.
Yeah,
That's an ongoing
security
thing.
versus privacy. And I mean, if you see the whole, I'm not going into this because.
Yeah, I know, I get it.
But if you see the whole Facebook, the
Ooh,
whole how they sold our information, so I can't vouch for no Apple, no big business. Because
Absolutely not, absolutely not.
Selling data is a very profitable business.
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah.
you have to see, because where do you trust in putting your data and your personal data in?
Yeah, I think what I'm kind of hoping that we will have a roadmap towards a little bit more of security, which is, I think, education. What we're doing right now
Education is the
first.
Yes, that's the primary reason, and that's the primary starting point. If you ever want to get secure, is to educate the people.
Educate the people, start understanding the internet.
Start understanding the internet, understand what are the risks on the internet, what are the benefits and what are the risks on the internet, and do the basics. Have the basics in place.
Yeah,
you have
so
to have the basics in place.
Use the internet to empower yourself, but watch out. Be mindful. I think that's a nice way to approach this upcoming era of the internet. We're going to go through big phases.
It's been here for a while. Aruba is a bit latent in it.
Yeah.
Because we've been participating, but we've never really there's not a lot of people exploring how you can really make profit out of it, of how you can really utilize it to the best to maximize your business.
I totally agree.
And now you have more people and more people doing it. You have businesses that can do it for you, but you have people exploring with it themselves.
Yeah.
It's very good to be mindful and try and protect yourself while you're out there.
And yeah, go ahead.
A thing that you've actually criticized me for due to the trusting corporations and stuff is I've chosen to use the facial recognition on my phone, right? And it's an Apple phone. And of course there are
It was me being mindful.
Yeah, of course. and I appreciate it, right? But the thing is a thing that we should all do, and a thing that we usually really, really try to avoid and don't do, is to read the terms and conditions.
Yes.
Great point.
Definitely.
And so I read terms of conditions that they concerning the facial recognition on my phone, right? And they said that the facial recognition is actually not stored on any servers. It is locally saved.
Ooh.
And that they do not share the data on their own servers or to any other people.
And this is Apple?
Yeah. Or well, on these phones at least, and that's what I read. And of
Interesting.
course, they can always have like some hidden text somewhere there that they might use it for certain things. But from what I gathered, I trusted this one time.
Great. No, but that's good information. Thank you for that. No, great.
Yeah, you
So always read.
as long as you read the fine print.
Exactly,
And you're comfortable
exactly.
with it.
I've also I've been made aware, I don't remember where, that they're trying to change certain laws that they have to bullet point the user agreements. So instead of having these really long documents that are going to be,
Hook you.
bullet pointed, and they're not allowed to try and hide information because that's it's a legal tactic.
You have to be transparent. I mean, why
Yeah.
send me a whole
Transparency.
document of 100 pages with tiniest font you could find?
Yeah, exactly.
Knowing
So
I'm not going to read it. So
And
it's
the
when
legal
you're
jargon and difficult language that the average person
it's
wouldn't
in
understand.
transparent. It's your information, and information is power. Knowledge is power. So if I'm going to trust you with my information, you can at least be transparent from your end.
absolutely, and it's a contract. It's a
It
a
is a
moral
contract.
contract almost, you know. But let's get back to some subcategories of the
Yes.
BEC, right? So I pulled up some information here. We don't have like Aruba statistics on attacks, but what I do see here, for example, I'm here at a website called graphas.ai,
Yes.
and in 2020, there were about 65 of all organizations were attacked by BEC tactics, which would be phishing.
That could be
phishing.
anything, because it's really business email compromise. So they try and capture you through your email. So it could be phishing, it could be a ransomware, it could be hacking, because they could send you a document with it that you can open, a link in it that you might open.
Yeah, so that could even impersonation, right? So it's digital ID impersonation.
Yeah, they do. It's digital theft, because they would steal my information and say, hey, I sent you this video clip, look at it, and then you'll click on the link. And
Oh yes, well we're hungry for clicks. We
So-
can't help it.
Online crime is real crime. It's just crimes is con artists. What they do in every day, they will try and do it with you by using the means of computer. So you have different types of online crimes. You have the ordinary crimes by use of computers. So for instance, you can extort a person in real life. You can blackmail a person, or you can blackmail a person through use the means of a computer. But you also have crimes as in hacking, which is another category of crime that's trying to intrude in someone's personal space, intrude in their computer, and you have espionage, terrorism also taking place via the computers.
If you really put words to it, it becomes very real. I think that's important, right? So it's like they're coming into your house. This is your digital house.
It's your digital house, and they're invading. And especially with the Internet of Things nowadays, they're like really in your house. If you're a very tech-savvy person, you have everything on the Wi-Fi. Your Airco,
and who
your
isn't?
coffee machine, your stofzuiger, your vacuum cleaner, your vacuum robot. They're in your house if they get to attack you.
So you just made me realize a perfect analogy, because a lot of people's answer, what is the problem with surveillance? I don't have anything to hide. I just browse the internet. What are they going to look at, right? And it's like you're staring into your window.
That's exactly.
They're seeing how you cook your eggs.
Yeah. You're not doing much.
Are you getting dressed? At what time? And what kind of toothpaste you use?
You don't have nothing to hide, but do you in ordinary day would like somebody to just stand in your window and
great
stare
analogy.
They're literally standing at your window, staring at you do everything. Are you okay with that?
And the other end, they're selling you. They might be selling you information, or they might be using it to compromise you in another way, or to breach your data in another way. And the one thing we have to be mindful of the internet, it's addictive. It's very highly addictive. And if you're not mindful of how you use it, before you know it, you spend your entire day, one way or another,
Absolutely.
on the internet, hooked.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful that you not fall into the addiction.
I totally agree.
Yes.
Let me just give two more numbers that I thought was pretty cool. So at Graphus, the average amount requested in wire transfer based on BEC attacks nearly doubled in 2020. Obviously, that's related to the pandemic.
It's related
so
to
a lot of behavior went online.
Or like for some business, it was like necessary to go work from home.
Zoom
and
downs.
You can't double check. You have you're irritated. Kids yelling in the back. Ooh. They really. We have statistics from that, but not
local.
Corresponding to like locally.
Yeah.
But we get, due to the pandemic and to the increase of online crimes, Interpol every month sends a statistic from all crimes
all over the world,
place.
right?
And a lot in the area. For instance, there was this lover scam attack.
Lover scam. Here we go.
Another one.
Sounds very juicy.
Yeah, you always have these males, and they will send you and tell you, hey, and they're still hooking with you, and they'll ask you to send money and stuff like that. And there were a few cases that hit really close to home, and that's why a lot of people are like, this old lady, 80 years old, lost all her savings, but they don't see the end of that. And what we see is, for instance, there was this case with lover scams, and they must probably sponsoring a terrorism group in Nigeria. And people was like, ooh, Nigeria is so far. But one of the criminals was from Venezuela and one was from Argentina, if I remember correctly. So it's pretty close to home. So you might not even know if you're a victim here in Aruba, a lady from 80-year-old that lost all her savings, if her savings is busy used to sponsor a terrorism activity.
That's crazy.
On the other side of the world.
Quick question. So here we see for the businesses, it was gemiddeld $48,000 to $75,000. So that was the average amount. But I guess when it's sextortion, relationship extortion, it could.
It's usually less. So for instance, they would because they send it to a lot of people, right? They do it to a lot of people at the same time, and
then there's a conversion rate.
There's cases here where they'll ask them like $1,000 or $10,000. It depends how much they see you are, because they will dig into your personal information before they attack you, before you hook on it.
It's a balancing act.
It's like
I can probably pull $400 from this poor soul.
And the money doesn't really relate to it, but there were kids who killed themselves because of that. They committed suicide because they were like, I don't want my family to know I was doing this and stuff like that. Not here in Aruba, so not locally, but it has happened in Holland, in the Netherlands, in the United States. So you have to be, what price can you put on something like that?
It's interesting because I think we've all experienced a online relationship in some shape or another. I have. You even worse, your generation. I do feel that you can have emotionally real experiences with your phone, which is interesting, right?
But
So
you can. I mean, you use your phone to interact every day. But for instance, for sextortion, you have to start asking, or for lover scams. If they keep telling you, oh no, I can't, my camera's not working today. Oh, the room is dark, I can't send you a picture. Or they send you a picture. Google has a Google image search. If you use the Google image search, they send you a picture and you just search in the Google image search, it will show you from where this picture was taken. So, for instance, if they stole it from another website, from a magazine, or
you'll see a doppelganger.
Yes,
right.
Or a reverse image. You can do reverse image scan, and a lot of times you can also just check in properties and you see the X files. You could see the data,
the metadata,
from the picture,
the metadata. Yeah. So interesting.
You know, like stuff like that. If they, I can't climb up. The internet is working, so I can't turn on my camera. Like stuff like that. It starts being skeptical.
Trust your gut.
And
if
never
they sound
share out
fishy.
nudes. I know it's like very exciting to share out nudes, but if you don't trust the person, or if you've never saw this person,
it's just a bad idea. It's just a general bad idea.
Even before the internet was so hot, I mean, and back in my days when the internet wasn't hot, but you had Hot Wheels, you had people that had bad experience with sharing nudes.
Right,
that
exactly.
Had to leave school because their nudes were all over the school because they sent nudes and then their nudes were on the email. Don't do it. Don't share nudes. Keep it to yourself.
There's no need. There's no need. I mean,
well, especially if you're sending it, don't make your face or anything that you have tattoo or something like that.
You know, I even have trouble putting pictures of my kids online nowadays. I do it, but you know, it's like, is there some creep gonna look at it and do weird things?
I understand.
My Facebook used to be like personal, so I only had like friends and family in it. So I used to share it, but then when I got on the party, I decided to stop. So I took off everything and blocked everything.
Exactly.
Because people would literally screenshot your picture of your kids and send you back to you like, hey, is that your kid? I'm like, oh, okay.
Who?
Okay, yeah, no, that's
yeah. But one thing I never did, and one thing people should never do, put your kids with school uniforms on. Don't do it.
Right.
They will put their kids with school uniform, or they pull their report card. And here in Aruba, we don't have the man in the bush that much, the raper in the bush. But it's very easy because all I can do is now I saw you're in your vrouw Connie class 5. And I just walked up to your school.
I think that's great advice.
And I'll be like, hey, Jean-Luc, your father sent me. You're in your Connie class, right? Class 5. Yes, your father was in an accident. He sent me to get you.
Boom.
He has no reason to doubt me because I know his school, I know his class, I know his school
you make
teacher.
a good point. You said that, and I have a picture.
A lot at the beginning of the school year, and when it's reporting, they always say, or at sports events, anything that's recognized for your kid.
The thing is on the island, we have a culture of always publicizing what school we go to. We always talk about it. You're always proud of what school you go to for the most part, right? You always take pictures of your friends with you in the uniform. You always share.
Yeah, I know. But I think what she's really referring to. I mean, look, when you went to the university, you know, you're a grown man.
Yeah, of course.
Right, and we're really talking about
young
kids. You know,
kids don't put themselves on the internet. It's their parents.
Exactly.
I think that's
mindful
and careful.
Be careful
for your kids because things can happen.
Things can happen. I mean, I don't know if you're aware of it, but a colleague of mine and myself, we made a book about that when the day Aruba wore black, where the public protested, and it was very intense. That was an intense day. I was really proud of the community because it was in the period of Black Lives Matters, and it was peaceful. It was intense, but we did it. Aruba did it. By the guidance of the guys from Tabasta, and the police were there, you know. So it was very intense, and it reminds me now that, you know, we can do our own part, right? So that's part of our own responsibility for protection.
We can do our own part. I mean, it starts with the small things. Teach your kids never to use candy, never to expose yourself online.
Exactly.
Because a lot of kids have gadgets nowadays.
Absolutely.
A lot of them, and some of them is for necessary, some of them for style. Because some parents need to be in contact with their kids, and so I can understand if you can give your kid a phone, but once in a while, check your phone's messages. Check who's calling your kids, who's messaging your kids. Check in the group chats because we've had group chats where bullying was going on. Yeah, he's a big.
No, but
back in the day.
I've had him because we did track him a bit, and there was a moment when he was talking to a stranger, but he couldn't. You know, he's young. And then we go in there and then we talked about it.
And even if you're talking to someone, because I mean, it's a lot of sad to say, but most of our cases here in Aruba are people that we know. So even if it's family, check the interactions.
Be mindful.
Be mindful.
Yeah.
Be mindful. Do not just throw
Be
your
skeptical.
kids online. I mean, they're great gadgets. I mean, how many kids learn different languages, have learned how to do math correctly just by using technology?
Absolutely, absolutely.
But be mindful, be careful, and
Yeah.
take care of your kids online.
But okay, so if we go back to relationship distortion, now we expand it because it has so many colors and shapes and sizes, so they could be targeting your kids even maybe.
Yeah.
But because the predatory mind, it's not about figuring out what they're trying to do. Just make sure they might be after you, or they might be after your kids, and maybe they want your money, or maybe they want you to.
And it's with the weirdest things, because we've had Interpol has the angel files, and they will send files of kids that was all either in online porn or really sexual predatory stuff like that. And they will send them, and at times, if you see the pictures, some of the pictures are very cruel, but it's these criminals they use usually the weirdest pictures. First, you would just put a picture of your child under pseudocrime naked, and somebody would just save this picture and sell it for money. So it's the weirdest thing that you would think of.
What looks like an innocent picture could look like
an innocent picture. Ooh, pseudocrime won the battle again. Because whenever I see those pictures, I laugh. I'm like, yeah, that's pseudocrime with you. Every kid once in a while took a whole bunch of pseudocrime and rubbed it all over the kid, and you will just post this picture online. It's some sick person out there will just take this picture, and save it and sell it.
How?
I have to delete a picture right now.
There's nothing you can do about that.
If once it's online, there's nothing you can do.
Oh yeah, once it's online,
Yeah.
it's
There's
out
nothing
there.
you can do. It's once it's online, it's up there.
Beyonce is very famous for that. The picture where she was like this, and they tried so hard to remove it.
It doesn't matter.
It's
Once
still
even
floating
if you
around.
remove it, it's still there.
Yeah, Facebook is very famous for allowing you to delete it, but they keep the information on the
Yeah,
servers.
but that's online. That's the online world. If you use like a Wayback Machine and you Google stuff, you will find things that you thought you deleted years ago.
Yeah.
And they're still
I
there.
just deleted a picture I uploaded this morning because I took a picture of my daughter because it was really cool. I used an old film style, but she was like, posing, and we think it's cute. And now that we've talked about
It's
it,
cute. You shouldn't get like.
I'm being
scared and stuff,
mindful.
but be mindful. Like
there's no need for it to be there.
There's
It's more important for
I don't
me.
use my kids' full names online here. Very rarely, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what kind of creeps are out there.
What
And
I've done
it's
now.
not fair to your kids, right? Because for instance, people would put pictures for the kids online, and then in 20 years, Jean-Luc is going to apply for a job, and they Google and they find this picture that he never even posted.
Yeah.
Because it's always there.
That's the Internet of Things.
That's the
It can
internet.
be out of your control. What I do kind of think will deter is pictures with other people. So if the kids, like for example, I have a picture of Opa with my daughter, that sort of, let's just say the word, it desexifies the image, right? So it's they're in company. When they're alone, imagination can run wild, right? So that's here we can say what we want. So that's the good thing about Soppy Mix. We can even use curse words. But I'm going to be a little bit more mindful. But I'm so excited about photography that you forget.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful thing. Photography can be a beautiful thing. Look how many kids want scholarships and stuff like that because of pictures or Instagram, and it doesn't have to. But you have to always remember that in a beautiful thing,
Absolutely.
there can be, criminals lurking around.
Very true. I wanted to talk to you since you have mentioned this. What are yours or Interpol's thoughts on this group about Anonymous?
X group, changed group, original group.
I can't give of course I cannot speak for the Interpol or the General Secretary. I can only speak for myself.
For a strategist.
Ruthlyn Lindar, for
Yeah.
myself.
Sure.
Any group that's exposing online, I cannot, because for instance, we have to start being more transparent and open with information. But
Right.
it also you have to be mindful, like for the reason why they are doing it. So, because you can start with a good intention and end up causing a lot of more problems. I don't know if you saw Suicide Squad.
The last one?
The last one?
I haven't seen it yet.
Sadly,
And
I've been
if
working.
you see the role John Cena is playing, he's doing it for kingdom and country.
Right.
And he's so patriotic, but he doesn't realize how trying to fight being so patriotic that he's causing more damage.
Right.
Because
Interesting.
what they were doing, what the country was doing, right? And it's the same thing I believe of all these type of groups. They're trying to do it for a real purpose. Some of them have maybe another intent in the back of it, because always this struggle of powers against powers.
Yeah, yeah.
But at times you can cause more damage trying to do something right than do it. So, but I do believe in more transparency and information. We have the right. It's
Yeah.
our human
Yeah,
right
yeah.
to know what is going on with us, to be transparent. You cannot go through life without a purpose. You cannot go through life not knowing what the government is busy doing. Because when you give your power over, when you're voting, you give your power over to the government. So I'm trusting you right now for my best interest.
Yeah, yeah.
So I do need to be informed. And they have exposed certain things that people never knew. They have exposed waters that were being poisoned, or was it black water, where they were selling faulty
Yeah,
gears. So
look,
people were
I
trusting you going into wars with gear, thinking that it was right, meanwhile the gears were faulty. And
it's
they
a, it's
knew
a,
about
ad,
it.
it's a, but what are they labeled again? They're a hacker.
Hacktivist.
Hacktivist. But, you know, I was a member, or I tried to be a member a while back, because they were a bit better organized and had a clear mission and vision.
Yeah, yeah.
And these are what inspired me was that documentary on Netflix where they helped the Egyptians. So in Egypt, which is a military state, and you know they were doing protests, and you know they basically got crushed. You know, I did horrible images of tanks running over people, and they were empowering them with creating their own internet so they can, you know.
We see that. Yeah, because ethical hackers is a thing,
Yeah.
and it's for the greater good. So it could be good. You just have to be mindful, because at times people can be ideologists, as in John Cena's case,
Yes.
and then you get overboard with it. So
It gets muddy. It gets muddy, and I
You
think
have to have a balance.
I think from my perspective with Anonymous, I sort of what I've seen so much content, and I go that's not it's the same brand, but they're saying some crazy things, and it almost seems like another group is trying to discredit them, because now there's 3 or 4
Yes.
media channels, and this is coming from somewhere, you know, and it gets tricky, and that's the problem with Anonymous as Anonymous. There's
Anonymous.
also side groups, and there's real hackers, and
But I mean, for instance, like when Panama Papers started out,
Right.
you know how Panama Papers started was for different newspaper, different periodistas that were busy, and anonymously sending the information, and they did very good. Did a lot come out of it?
Not much.
there's also
But
the
they
Pandora's
did- they
papers,
did-
right?
Yes.
For instance, and that was the Pandora's paper, but they did
Huge.
expose something what was going on.
Speak it to the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
They did expose what was going on. The only difference is that at times we expose stuff and we don't know higher up what is really taking place. And then you will think like, ooh, the work went in vain, but they did expose a lot. And it's the same thing with Anonymous. They do expose stuff like at times, but we have to just be...
But you know, I think you pose a great question. The question is always, we're so we live in this paradigm where there's absolute justice, and things need to come out and people need to get punished.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
But I've seen some great changes. For example, how the documentary, which is basically exposing something, Blackfish, that talked about the orcas in SeaWorld.
SeaWorld.
And you know,
SeaWorld.
you and me are a little closer in age. We probably grew up going, oh, we want to go see the orcas. It's
Free
cool.
Willy, yeah.
Free Willy, you know, exactly. And then you see Blackfish, and then you know
Ooh.
it seems journalistically sound. And you kind of realize, like, you know, when you're a kid and you look at the pool and you look at the orca and the fin is like this, they basically lied to us.
Yeah, they did.
They're basically suffering. They're going nuts. And
It's just like the flamingos here in Aruba. I mean, no bird wants clipped feathers.
exactly, yeah. So
But why don't they ever fly away? Because the feathers are clipped.
yeah, and you know, interestingly, but I do exposing something is the first step,
Yes.
and then maybe, just maybe, that will help people make better decisions. So again, it's almost education.
It is education, because at times a lot of us are misinformed.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Especially bringing it back to the topic of being online, we are so misinformed in a world that has so much information. And you
Yeah.
see people sharing stuff like crazy. For instance, there was this picture once going around with a soldier carrying a mule, and then there was this whole story in the back of it. I'm like, but that's not a story.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but we get, and they tap into your emotion because that's like they know what the people want to hear. So they're like, yes, the soldier is carrying the
Mule?
The mule. I think it was over landmines and to help people, and that was not the case. The picture was actually a picture from in Algeria where a mule broke its leg, and then they brought him back to base. But they would tap into your emotion, like, oh, Commandery, soldier carrying the mule, and they know what people want to hear.
And all they want is a reaction.
Yeah.
They want the reaction.
You know, there's also that documentary, Get Me Josh Stone, which he was an engineer on reaction. And if you've watched, what was that documentary called about Orionstat? Well, excuse me, it was called Analytica, Cambridge Analytica. It's a documentary where they caught this group of, let's call them online marketeers, that used militarized algorithms to move with people. And very interestingly, they have a story about a certain island in the Caribbean where a certain party said, hey, we need to win. And you know what they did? They convinced people through marketing to not vote. And then the group, and I think it was there was a Caribbean group, an African Caribbean group, and there was the more Hindu
student,
and what happened was they realized through social engineering that the kids that would say they wouldn't vote from that group would still be loyal to their parents and vote anyway because they listen, they have a better family nucleus, and and you can see them, we will not vote in defiance, and then they basically engineered a win. But you know, it's very complex.
It's very complex. The whole discussion after the Biden win in the States was about the same thing. Like, how did they use to media to take the vote? So we have to be very mindful of the
working forces.
Yes, and what you're exposed to. Is it what you were really like looking for, or are they shoving down something on your face? So when you're online, be careful.
No, sorry, continue. Finish.
No, be very careful. As I said before, it's very addictive.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, like I have no media on my Facebook because it will just be the entire day negative stuff, negative stuff, negative stuff.
Yeah, you go crazy. Yeah, you go a bit nutty.
Depressed because you're like all day, all these negative stuff. So I even start unfollowing people that only share negative. I'm like,
course, yeah.
people, the world is much more beautiful than you think it is. And we don't fact check, and you have to fact check once you're online. You get this information. They just share stuff without fact checking. And
do your due diligence.
Damaging to people.
I've actually done that for friends, but because they're my friends, I'll go, listen, man, that's not true. Or that's just Photoshop. Or listen, that's just a text on an image. Yeah. When you see a text embedded on an image, it's probably engineered. It's probably Photoshop, the famous word. But also what I see interesting, I've seen, for example, we remember that explosion? There was a big explosion. It was a city in the east. Yeah. And then there was this video of a rocket hitting it. And they were like, no, it wasn't a fireworks explosion. It was a hidden attack. And I went to look at the image and I'm like, oh my God, guys. It's done really well, no? The rocket comes in and you can see it, but then there's no, so I slow down the framing and I go, guys, frame by frame. And guys, look, and then when you really look at that frame, it's a drawing. It's a really bad drawing. And I'm like, but it's great. I found this great secret.
Yeah, it's what the people want to, and that's how they hook you.
Yeah, so it's an emotional response.
It's an emotional response. So they know how to tap into our.
We have a hunger for conspiracy.
We do.
So
we do, but that's where like groups like Anonymous come in because they are now selling that we have a hunger for conspiracy. When people are trying to expose stuff, people usually say, "Oh, it's conspiracy," and maybe there's truth in the back of it.
Yeah,
there's 10% truth in everything. So be more mindful.
A thing with anonymous conspiracy theories and fact checking that I did was once they around the time when the Epstein suicide happened. There was.
We're gonna need another show for that one,
right? But apparently, a branch. I'm gonna call them branches now of Anonymous, since he explained it beautifully once. It's like a flock of birds. It just there's no leader. They just do things. Released a court case of a person anonymously named legally a Jane Doe suing Epstein and Trump about sexual misconduct. It was crazy, and I read it, right? But I was like, wait, but court cases are public, right? So if this is real, I can look up its number because all of them have IDs, right? Into like whatever official database is, and I can find it, right? And I found it.
Oh.
I found like the pre-ones and all the afterwards and the entire thing. It was a real paper. And then people were saying, no, this is fabricated. It's never happened. How could it? No. It was real. So Anonymous released something. It fit a conspiracy theory. And then I fact-checked it because I knew that this information would be public if you go look for it. And it was real. It was crazy.
Yeah, you know, if we not, let's expand on an even crazier notion, is people are starting to call nurses, our first responders, actors.
Insanity.
Yeah. Have you seen that? So first responders
Very
that
briefly.
are fighting. Sorry.
Very briefly.
Very briefly.
Yeah.
We'll expand on-
Because we have to go back.
We'll go
on-
back. We'll go
back
back.
to
We have time. We have time. We're right on time here. But yeah. So some. If you ever talk to a nurse, it's very frustrating for them because people are dying in front of them, and the people are dying that are, when they're in their dying breath, don't believe in what they have. So it's very frustrating, right? So the people are dying, but they still don't want to accept what's going on. But now what's happening is that they're screaming to you that's doing the hardest labor possible, the highest risk. You're actually acting that this is real.
Yeah, well, you know, it's I'm
Breathe.
not. Yeah, no. I'm not, because I'm trying to be mindful because I'm here of Namens Interpol. So
Oh, of
and,
course.
you
I'm
know,
sorry.
like,
I'm
to
sorry.
how
Yes.
I react to this, but
But it's just an expansion on disinformation, basically.
yeah, but it's not because we want to blame the people on disinformation, but the problem is actually in transparency and trust.
Yes.
No,
yes.
agreed.
If we as the persons that's supposed to educate the people are not transparent enough, or do not give them the reason to trust us, or we cannot consolidate in their trust, you are going to get these things.
No,
It's
agreed.
a human
I absolutely
reaction,
agree.
and you cannot. With this whole pandemic, it's so weird because you're
Yeah.
like, you want to believe in something, you don't know what to believe in, but it's not like in the past governments have not fooled the people. So I could rely, and that's just me, Ruthlyn Leno, as a criminal behavior analysis, as a behavior analysis.
Right.
I could understand why people would react like that, and
Yes.
so I cannot call anybody crazy, stupid, or anything
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
because I understand where the behavior comes from. There's no trust. There's not enough. There has not been enough transparency in the past,
You bring
and now
a good
you want
point.
people to believe you.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
had to be transparent and open and give enough information. We thrived on not informing the people, and now we see how it's biting us back. We have to start informing and educating.
Yes,
our people
that's the
more.
solution. I agree. When I am not calling anybody anything else except for victims.
Yeah,
True.
Right?
on
So-
both sides of the
But
Yeah.
of
we're,
the
we're all
spectrum. Everybody is
victims. We're not.
here.
Nobody's smarter or better informed, or we try. I do believe if you try and really don't be lazy with how you receive information, you might be better off. So be mindful, right? So when
Be
something comes in,
mindful and read on both sides of the spectrum, because what you
True.
have also is confirmation bias. If you're looking
Yeah,
for some
yeah,
a yellow
yeah.
car, you're gonna find a yellow car. So read
That's the
on
thing.
pros and cons, everything. Just
You bring a very good point. These would be the same people who would have believed Snowden. And Snowden exposed why you should not trust the government. And we now have reasons to not trust the big corporations. And so these people are simply just not trusting the information they are given.
I'm not
Well,
sure if it's
le-
the same kind of people, but
but let's
Oh, well,
let's disclaim.
day.
Let's disclaim.
disclaim that.
Let's
yeah.
disclaim. Trust certain aspects
Yes.
of and look. I work in government myself. It's a big, tight wound clock with engines and gears and many different people. And now we're talking about the risks of the internet. And this is where my positivity comes back, is that when I talk about blockchain, when you see solutions and they're there, all these people that, for example, the programmers of a browser called Brave, and there's plenty of good things out
There's
there.
a lot of good things out there.
Yeah, and
technology.
enjoy the niche. I'm learning to go away from YouTube and go away from Facebook and go away from Google and explore the vast, beautiful internet. Because that's another thing. If you look at the pixel real estate you have, which is a screen of so many pixels, most of us only see the tip of the iceberg, and these algorithms are pushing our own needs,
Yeah.
our own desires. And sometimes when I open a new browser and I put on YouTube, I see all this content and I go, whoa, What's this?
That's everything you like.
No,
Then
I
you're
know, but I
familiar
just
with
saw
it.
things that I don't like, or it's not in my,
In
you know,
your,
in my little check balance of things that I like. And I'm like, wow, there's a whole bunch of information. There's billions of pages out there, and we're just tapping into
The top, tippy top.
tippy top. So here in Tech Impact, we really believe in go out there. When I give lessons, when I ask, can you name me a website that is not Facebook or YouTube or Google? People can't answer that no more. Nobody goes to NBA.com if you love NBA. You actually wait
Google, you go
for
to
Google to give it to you.
Yeah.
But go to the NBA. There's bestaansrecht there. You know. You wanted to say something.
No. I'm hearing. I'm hearing.
Yeah. So Ruthlyn, how did Cyber Week, Cyber Month, excuse me, go for you?
It went very well. We sent out all the information we needed. We got the reactions we needed. People know how to get us in case there are different attacks.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. So let's just say that's actually happened a couple times. I got a message from this strange number, and she said, "Hola, ¿cómo estás?" You know, and then I go, "Oh." I blocked that. Is there any need for me to get in touch with you when I do that?
No.
Not really, right?
No. You can. The best thing to do is to just block it.
Right.
Usually, when there's a lot of those messages coming in, like for instance, if it's like a big load, SATAR itself would do something to block that, whatever IP or whatever number is coming in through the red line or Digicel. They would do the due diligence from their part. Like if everybody's getting the calls, they would usually stop it from their end.
Okay.
So that you don't fall victim.
Okay. Jean-Luc, any other questions?
So to build on that, I've also received very recently, actually, like, call me now here in this insert very strange number that I don't even know where it is from.
So that's a phishing.
Yeah,
that's
phishing, right? And you're saying that we can report this to SATAR, for example?
You can report it to SATAR. If it's like in big bulk, they can do something about that. But you can always report it. What you see people nowadays, they screenshot it and send it on Facebook to mind other people to be careful. That's also
right.
I usually block them.
Very easy. Just block them.
Yeah.
Block is a very powerful tool. If somebody's bothering you, block them.
Block them.
And let's. I did that yesterday.
Nice.
I blocked from my phone.
Yeah.
Somebody called me, yelled at me for no reason, and I go, boop, you're out.
And how can we contact Interpol? And when should we contact
Or
Interpol?
is that part of protocol? Or what would be the protocol? Just the police?
Yeah, you usually go through the police. You do an aangifte at a police near you, and then through that it will come to the threshold through Interpol.
Is there a number? Do we need to go to the police physically? How does that work?
Let's say I know somebody that got extorted.
You go to the police.
Just go to the police, right?
The first
Police
you
report.
have,
Yeah.
between Police Santa Cruz, Police Playa, Police San Nicolas, Police North, the one closer to you in the neighborhood, you go directly to the police, do an aangifte, and they would know where to. You report it, and they would know how to direct you.
Let's just say I send, for some reason, let's say I had a relationship, an online relationship with a person for about 2.5 years. It slowly built. I started sending, $50 here and there to help out, and then, mom got sick. And then after a while, it kind of dies off, and then I realized, hey, I might have been victimized. Was it social engineering? Is that kind of situation? If you're too late, can you go to the police? If it's like 2 years and I sent about $400 and then she kind of disappeared.
I mean, you should always report it.
Right.
I don't think.
But it's kind of my own fault.
It's not like
I'm
really
just-
your own fault. It's you could report it. I'm not sure how much they would be able to do to help in that case.
That was my next question. So, do people get their money back? Not really.
Not really.
So that's lost. But just make sure that you can protect others and start the awareness campaign.
Yes.
And, hey, guys, and I think that's what we're about as well. Is just talk about it. Don't be ashamed. It's fine. It happens to the best of us.
It happens to the best of
I
us.
got
It
fished
Yeah.
many times.
Yeah.
And it happens to the big companies. So who are you, little person, to feel ashamed of you? It happens to big companies. So why do we, as people, human,
Yeah.
feel ashamed if something like that happened to you?
I feel like so definitely you shouldn't be ashamed.
Right.
It happens to the best of
You
us.
shouldn't be ashamed, and you should report it. Because, I mean, say, for instance, you gave an example of losing $400, but there are people that are really
Thousands.
extorted at that moment. And report it, because we could stop it.
Yeah, yeah.
And you could get help, because for you to be feeling so extorted that you want to go commit suicide or do something.
We don't want that. Nobody wants
Nobody
that.
wants that.
So you report it.
But
No.
the thing is you've mentioned last week that the amount of wow, I'm being aware of the amount of ums that I'm using.
It's okay. Just do the It's
That's
fine.
okay. It's stop word.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
your
stop
thinking.
word.
Your
Yeah, yeah,
thinking.
yeah. Last week you mentioned that there was a very little amount of information that we have on the island, right? Regarding
There's
all of
information. It's
this.
getting more and more,
Uh-huh.
but it's still not enough to say that you
Yes.
can build
So
data or statistics on it. But it's
Exactly.
getting more.
and that is a reason why you should report anyway. By reporting, you are helping possible future preventions and possible research into this and how it goes, right?
Beautifully
It
said.
is still information that Interpol police can use for later reference.
Right.
Yes.
You
right.
shouldn't be ashamed. It
Mhm.
happens to the best of us. They take it as a challenge. They're waiting to spend 2 years talking to someone, targeting just to get that
Oh,
money. at
they're
the
probably
end, right?
talking to 100 people
Hundreds
at
of
once.
people. right?
Yeah.
So it's fine.
A great show about is Catfish.
Oh,
Right, so
famous.
that's the famous MTV conglomerate reality TV show. I think they made a movie out of it as well. There's this certain because it's the show producer was catfished.
Yeah.
And by the way, just to expand on listeners that don't understand, catfish is a fake relationship that people pretend to be somebody else, and sometimes it's not even about money. It's
No.
entertainment sometimes
It's-
for
yeah,
people.
yeah,
For
yeah.
some people, it's entertainment. They can see how far they can get away with it. Some people take it like way too far.
Yeah, yeah.
So catfish does not always have to be about money.
I'll tell a final story. Let me. Before my story, you go ahead. You're doing great points.
To clarify, to catfish is to put on a mask and pretend you are someone else.
Right, right.
Usually a famous person. Or catfishers.
Thanks.
Right? It's not about the relationship or looking for people. It is specifically to present yourself as someone else.
So you can live another life.
So that you can live another life. So for example, on
Yeah,
Tinder,
I've forgotten. There's so many categories now.
so for example, on Tinder, somebody who would catfish would put pictures of somebody they know or someone beautiful on the internet, but a different name.
And
And
it's
then
been going on
behave.
a lot not really going on a lot in Aruba, but what you've seen is lately a lot of people complaining because people would make like double Facebook pictures of them, and I will be sending
Yeah,
naughty messages to other people. But there was this girl complaining that it
Mhm,
actually
mhm.
ruined her life because it was not her, and she's trying to explain people it's not her, and people would walk up on her to the streets and
Yeah.
thinking it was she who was sending them all these messages, but somebody just took her Facebook profile and
Mhm.
made another profile and was harassing people. So it's actually cruel to do that to someone.
I've
especially in
had-
a small country like this.
I found friends' pictures on certain applications that I know they weren't on. I took pictures of it and sent it. It's like, hey, people are using your pictures. Famous on the island. It happens so much. I see it so often. I suddenly get a request.
Yeah,
And
from
like, I
a
followed
person
this
you already
page.
have. Yeah.
Yeah, and I followed them already. And they had like, of course, the Zoe.loft, for example, right?
Right.
Well, I follow a Zoe Loft. And then they have a link. Follow me now for these not even OnlyFans, a very shady version of it, right? For 50% off. And then look at all these amazing customers. And I'm like, I know these people are not part of these websites.
Yeah.
Yet they're using the images, they're catfishing people of much prettier people.
All right.
So your story.
Yeah, we're gonna sign off,
Yes.
right? Because I think Ruthlyn has some
Yeah,
obligations.
exercise.
Yeah, because I saw the phone activity.
Yeah.
My final story before we go off. I used to work in an advertising agency. And, and this friend of mine, I will not mention your name, Olaf. My shout outs to you. But Olaf was one of those online world player games.
World of Warcraft.
No.
Oh, no?
Final Fantasy, the big one. And he used to do weddings, and he basically immersed himself in that world. He had clocks, and he used to tell me he had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And he would show me screenshots, and he's a dragoon. He's like a
Yeah.
dragon slayer, and he goes, yeah, but you talk outside of the game. Yeah, this is her, and he showed me this model from Korea
Model.
picture. I'm like, come on, Olaf, that's probably some fat dude trying to be a girl. And his thing is just, he's not predatory, but it's not real. It's like, I don't care. I'm having a nice experience, So
That's true. Some people enjoy it. I mean,
yeah. But Ruthlyn, thank you so much for coming and
Thank you for having us.
yeah, and think about Tech Impact loves this topic, and you're welcome anytime. So
Yes, yes.
let us know, and let's continue this advocacy and education.
Yeah, to everybody out there, be vigilant, be skeptical, be mindful online.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, with that, we're signing out. All right, Jeff, you can let us go. Goodbye,
Happy
everybody.
Have a
Halloween,
nice
happy
Saturday.
weekends.
Happy Halloween.